Welcome, fans, once again to KB's Unemployed show, the only show on the internet where you can sit at your job and watch a guy who doesn't have one anymore. What will KB do today? Change guitar strings, perhaps? Grade papers? Worry about his future? Who knows? The only thing we know is it's guaranteed to make you question your intelligence, simply because you're watching it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the unemployed lifestyle of KB.
The pods are now open.
Look at my cat. Look at my cat. Look. Look.
I like to study about the world cities and airports.
KB brings just great instincts. That's what you love about him.
Oh, that boy ain't right.
If Andy yearns for Brenda and Brenda cares about Charlene, who pines for Andy, the three of them form one of these. Kara.
What is it, threesome?
No.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit.
Lesbians. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
I don't mind a bit of bush.
37 in a row?
Shut the f*** up, okay? Shut the f*** up.
Do you want to start drinking?
Yes.
You know, I'm going to have to go for 420, Bob.
Cheez-Its! Cheez-Its! Cheez-Its!
Light this candle.
He's right. Let's light this candle.
Light the candle.
Are you ready for it?
And that candle is lit, folks. It is KB's Unemployed show. I am KB, and I am unemployed, and I am still unemployed, and I have no prospects. No prospects whatsoever. But that's fine with me. That is fine with me. I don't care. Because unemployment life is pretty damn good. Unemployment life is pretty damn good. I still haven't gotten the lighting fixed in here, but I don't really care. But all that is going to be worked on. I know that, first of all, I want to thank Dobie Maxwell for joining me yesterday on the show. And if you want to catch up on that past show, all you have to do is go to the YouTube page, and all the past streams are there. I'm just learning how to edit those down into little snackable clips, so you won't have to go through the entire process of sitting through an entire 1 hour show in order to get to any of the points that you may want to get to. But today's show, I was all set up to have another special guest on, none other than the man, the myth, the legend, the man whose brainchild it was to put together that radio station that we were on before. Red Hot Tim Scott, but I sent Red Hot a message, and I said, hey, still good to go tomorrow. He goes, oh, I can't. Oh, way to go. Way to go. Thanks a lot, Red Hot. But he will be back. He will be back. So that is a good thing. He will come back. He will come in next week. But let's see. Nonetheless, I am going to talk about a variety of things today. One of which would be AI, because I went on and I looked up. I went on AI and I looked up. They said you should never really Google or AI yourself, and so I did. I did go on and AI myself, and the information that I got was rather interesting, to say the least. When I went to ChatGPT, it was fine, but when I went to Grok, that would be Elon Musk's. Elon Musk's, I believe it was Grok that I did it. It did not come back much. It did not come back in the same manner that it did before. So what I want to do is I want to go through that. If I can find it, I had it right here. Well, that blows. See, this is why my show just sucks. But again, I don't really care. So anyway, AI, that's what we're going to talk about today. And I went through and I also got all of my AI all of my searches and put them together. One of the things that Drew and I always used to talk about was that he always used to say, I hate to see your algorithm. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Because the stuff that I probably look up is very it's very interesting and very diverse, to say the least. And so I can go through some of those things, and really, when you look at it, it's quite interesting. But then the other thing that I did is I went to, as I said, I went to Grok, and I pulled up everything about me on that, and that was a little bit different, to say the least. So that's a scary thing if you ever want to do that. Actually, I think it was Perplexity. Yes, it was Perplexity. That is it. Which was the odd one, I believe. But anywho. Well, where the fuck is that now? Oh, because it was really kick-ass, because it was so bad. And now I have no idea where it is. Oh, well. Well, I guess it's not going to be as fun as I thought. Anyway, back to the conversation at hand. Now that I've totally shit the bed on this entire show, AI. It's gotten to the point where people ask me about that, because I was being an instructor in college, that I get asked a lot. Well, what are you doing about AI? How do you handle AI in the classroom? And the thing is that what happens a lot of times with teachers, especially at the college level, what will happen quite a bit is they really get caught up in being they really caught up in academics, and how all of that relates, because it's this pursuit of higher knowledge. And if you ask me, I think it's all a bunch of bullshit, personally, because nobody, as I tell the students, they all come in and they're all freaked out, because their parents have been pounding it into them about how they have to get good grades, and they need good grades to get a good job, and they need a good job to there goes my day. KB and Tim Scott was the highlight. I'm sorry, James. Jacob and Evan, I love how your opening line is, welcome to KB's Unemployed Show. I'm KB and I'm still unemployed. Yeah, I am. I can't help it. Anyway, what the teachers are, they're so incredibly into the pursuit of academic knowledge, and the advancement of our intelligence, and I can tell you this much, and I apologize to anyone who might be a PhD out there, but when you go into a university setting as an adjunct instructor, which is what I did, and then moved my way up to full lecturer at UWM. When you go in as an adjunct, you get a different education. And my education was not out of a book. As a matter of fact, what I like to do is I like to tell the students that, I worked for 35 plus years in advertising. I still consult, but worked for 35 plus years in advertising. And I had one advertising class, one in college. They didn't even, at St. Norbert College, the Harvard of Brown County, they did not even have an advertising curriculum. I had one class in consumer behavior my senior year, and it was second semester senior year, by a guy who taught it, Bill Dargan, who was a old crusty guy. You know, he worked in the ad game, and he's just this old, just crusty, grumpy, angry guy. And so he was my instructor, and he was practical, and he was real world, and he was the best instructor that I ever had. Of all the people that I remember his class. I do remember some other instructors, but I mean, his class had the biggest, most profound effect on me. Like, for example, I had to take a course with Dr. Wayne Patterson in East Asian ethnology, which was, you know, this is why college is such bullshit, especially if you go to a liberal arts school. They make you take all these prerequisites, and then they make you go into these little silos, and you have to have humanities and stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I have to drop, in a private school, I got to drop some serious coin on East Asian ethnology. And I know it's like, you had your Ming dynasty, you had your Tang dynasties. Those are the only two dynasties I know of the Chinese dynasties. I don't even know if there were any other dynasties, but you got your Ming and you got your Tang. And but I know nothing about them. I think, isn't Ming, don't they have vases? See, that's about all I know is the Ming and the Tang dynasty. But I do remember for a fact that one of the things that Wayne Patterson taught us is that, and I swear to God, now don't be going out and canceling me for saying this, okay? I do not want you to cancel me because I didn't say it. I remembered it, but I did not say it. What he said was that the people in the Far East, in that area of the world, don't have body odor. Oh, okay. They don't have a body odor problem, and the reason they don't have a body odor problem is they don't eat a lot of dairy products. That's all I remember from East Asian ethnology. Right? Whether I got an A, a B, or a C in that, I don't even know. It doesn't even matter because, you know, but some of the other classes that I've taken, the information about people on that side of the world without body odor, I've used that quite a bit. I've put that to use quite a bit at different, cocktail parties or conversations that I've been in. But the students will come to me and it's like, I got to get good grades because my parents said I have to get good grades. And if I don't get good grades, then, I'm not going to get a good job. And if I don't get a good job, I'm going to be a failure. And the first thing that I tell them is, I go, this is all bullshit. Grades, while they are important to show progress in the sense that it'll get you recognized if you have a good grade point average on your resume, it doesn't do shit for you for a job, right? And they kind of look at me with a puzzled look, and I said, hey, this is how it works. It might get your resume picked off the pile and put into the other pile that they want to take a look at you, but before you even get a job, you're going to have to get through probably 4 other interviews, which means your personality is going to have to carry you. I said, and furthermore, the last thing I would ever do is hire a 4-point, because a 4-point, someone who is a 4-point, that just basically told me that they didn't do anything or have any fun during college, which is not someone who I want to work with. As a matter of fact, I do recall being at a church function, and there was a woman there who graduated from St. Norbert, and she knew I went to St. Norbert. Why did I get an A in astronomy? I was the smartest dummy in the class and showed up most of the time. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I teach. It's like, show up and you're going to get a good grade. But this woman comes up to me and she goes, oh, I went to St. Norbert too, blah, 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 blah. All right. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she bragged to me. And she said, I went there for 4 years and I never missed one class or a lab. And I just looked at her, and with this blank stare, I just kind of looked at her like this, and I went, I you're just going to have to leave because I can't relate to you. I have no idea how to talk to you. And it's kind of true, man. You got to develop your personality. Been in the 414 grade show, you can read and memorize. They don't always show how you think, adapt, or lead. That's exactly right. And that's what I get into when I teach my students. I go, you haven't been taught you haven't learned anything. You've just been taught how to memorize. So you're really good at memorizing. If you get grades, you're not good at, you didn't learn anything. And so how does that come back around to AI? Well, what it does is the way that tends to work is that the academics are all upset that somehow the academics feel that they're going to be, I guess you could say, undermined by AI. And I look at it and I dropped this on a couple people and they said, how do you use AI? How do you deal with AI? And I said, this is what I do. So I have students and I teach an advertising class. And one day I'll give them an assignment and I'll go write an ad for V8. But here's how this is going to work. I said, you can only use AI. You can only use AI to generate the headline. You can only use AI to generate the layout. You can only use AI to generate the body copy, right, for a print ad. So what I did was I give them that assignment and they bring it back in. I said, you have to print it out in color, bring it back in. Now, half of them don't print it out in color. The reading is not high on their list of priorities, to be perfectly honest with you, or reading instructions. But I have them bring them in. So they all bring their ads in and I go, okay, we get around a table and we put them all out on this table. And then I go around the room and I go, okay, I want you to pick out the best ads. These are all AI generated, no human knowledge in there at all. And I said, I want you to pick out the best ads. And they do. They go out and they pick them all out. And we'll narrow it down to about 3. So I pulled those 3 out. I put all the other ones aside. And I say to them, okay, so these are 3 good ads. You would say, if this was your company, you would run any one of these 3 ads. And they said, yeah, we think those are good ads. To which I just stopped and I looked at them and I said, okay, I got a question for you. And they said, okay, I go, here's my question. And I go, why should I hire you? And tell me that's not a shocker. And they go, what? I go, why should I hire you? I have no reason to hire you. Why? I mean, if I can get someone who can just type in a prompt and spit out something that's going to work, I have no use for you. So why are you spending this much money hey, Brent, why are you spending this much money on college? Why are you're going to be paying student loans for God knows how long? And you're going to cheat and you're going to use AI. It doesn't make any sense to me. If I don't need you and I can do this, then that's money you completely wasted. So then what I do is I tell them, okay, I'm going to show you how to use AI. Now, the way I use AI, and I use it quite a bit. And if you look at my YouTube page, it is quite colorful. And what I do is I cannot draw, but I have ideas. And so I have learned how to put stuff into prompts in AI and it spits out the idea, and then I can refine it. And I can refine that idea and have it turn it into something workable. Now, I don't look at that as cheating. I just can't draw. So I kind of look at it as being an art director that doesn't cost me anything. Well, it costs me $20 a month because I use the advanced ChatGPT. But I walk them through, how do you use AI? But AI does not accomplish everything. AI is not it gets a lot of stuff wrong. And I wish I could find this bio, because the bio that they had for me was just horrible. There was one guy in Pompano Beach, Florida that came up. There was one that said I was a judge, which would have been my grandfather. There was one that said I was in the military, which and it went on to say I was in the military, which I was not. So AI in and of itself is not going to really do anything for you unless you put your mind, you use your own head. So that's what I would always encourage, students to do. I used AI. I'll give you another example of how I used AI. It must have been about a year ago. Ran into a situation where I owed some back taxes, but I didn't know. I knew I didn't owe any back taxes, but they said I owed back taxes. And they sent me a letter and they said, you owe $5,600 and some odd dollars. And what it came out of was the fact that I had taken some money out of an IRA, and you got 60 days to put it back in. And when I put the deposit back in, it was the 63rd day. And my argument was, well, the 63rd, 62nd. Okay. My argument was I put it back in on a Tuesday, which would have been the 63rd day. That Friday would have been what, 63, 62, 61, 60, 59. So that Friday would be 59 days. And I didn't have the money until that Friday. So I couldn't get it to my broker. Now, I said, okay, well, I'll put it in Monday. Couldn't put it in Monday. Why? Because it was Martin Luther King Day. And it was a bank holiday, a federal bank holiday. So my broker was closed. So I put it right in on that Tuesday, and all of a sudden, bang, this thing comes back from the IRS several months later, says you owe us $5,000 and some dollars in back taxes because of this. And I'm like, you got to be dry shaving me. So they let you write a letter back, and they let you write a letter and you can appeal it. And so I get the first thing in, I write a letter, and that appeal comes back and they said, no. Okay. Well, then you can appeal it again if you think it is wrong. Well, I know it's wrong because you said I had 60 days, but it would have ended on the 59th. So I didn't get to my 60 days, and I didn't get to 63 because the first day I was able to do it after the banks opened was the 63rd day. It's plain and simple. This is how it works. You didn't give me 60, you only give me 59. So I made that argument again, and I sent the letter in. Once again, they sent it back and they said, no, we want the money. Now it's $5,000, right? It's not an awful lot of money. But it's an awful lot of money to me, but it's not an awful lot of money. So it's $5,000. And it comes back and they said, now your option is to take it to tax court. And I go, oh yeah, I'm going all in. I am going to court. I am going to tax court. I'm going to stand up in front of a judge and tell him to pound sand. I'm not a big fan of what the government does anyway. So that would have been worth $5,000 to go in there and tell him to pound sand. So I just go ahead and I file and I go, yeah, give me a tax date. Give me a court date. I'm going to go in. Well, I get all this stuff back about doing motions and all this. And I go, oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to show up. If I'm going to have to pay, I'm going to have to pay. So I get my court date set. And a couple weeks later, I get a call from the federal attorney, and I'm talking to her, and I explained the situation. She's like, okay, I understand. And the next thing I know, a couple days later, I get a call from my broker who says, hey, the federal tax attorney just called us, and they've subpoenaed all of your records, and they want them sent over. I'm like, oh. And he goes, I said, well, from what? And he goes, from the last 35 years. It's like, are you dry shaving me? They wanted 35 years. They wanted every conversation, every phone call, every transaction. And he goes, here's what they're doing. He goes, they're just trying to drive you. They're just trying to, get you to just surrender your claim. And they're going to make it extremely difficult for you to do it. Well, now, obviously the federal government doesn't know me. So that just pissed me off even more. So he goes, you're going to have to figure out a way to quash the subpoena. Now, I wouldn't know how to quash a subpoena. And I'm not going to go and find an attorney for $150 an hour to do it. So what I ended up doing was I said, let's go to ChatGPT, shall we? So went to ChatGPT. I said, write a motion to quash a subpoena. And boom, it spits out this motion. And I look at, there's like 4 main categories. I don't remember what they were. And I look at those categories and I went into what it wrote. And all I did was change a word here and there. And then took that document and went online and looked up the format, because legal documents, they all have a format, what's capitalized, where it goes, what typeface you use and all that. So I looked up the format of a motion and typed it in specifically, dropped it all in with the same typeface, the same spacing. I mean, everything was absolutely picture perfect to what a motion would be. And put all that information in, sent it off as I was a fake attorney, and Kevin J. Brandt Esquire. Sent it off to the tax attorney, and 2 days later they called back and they said, yeah, we dug into this a little bit more than and we're going to dismiss the case. And I got out of it. So ChatGPT got me out of going to tax court against the federal government. I went to tax court because I didn't think that the government was going to follow through on it. If anyone works in the business world, there is absolutely nobody out there who is going to go into court for $5,000 unless they're going into small claims court. But there isn't anyone, much less the U.S. government. It's $5,000. What the hell do they care, right? So I go in, I'm thinking, oh, they got nothing, they'll just dump this immediately if I file to go to court. And then when they didn't, I sat back and I thought, well, yeah, that makes all the sense, because the U.S. government's got nothing better to do than to throw attorneys at everything. They're so, fat with people that they don't have to work. They just layer upon layer. So that's why they brought me up on. So that's when they brought me. They brought me in. What is this? Liquid Denmark 1350. Remember, Americans, you go to Jesus, but we go to Valhalla. No, you cannot have Greenland. Okay, well, that's got to be someone sneaking into this. Valhalla is that the country club? That's a country club in Kentucky, right? I think they had a U.S. Open there. And I don't want Greenland. I wasn't even looking for Greenland. So, I mean, if you're hopping in here and you're going to try and drum up some political stuff, it ain't going to fly here. And not all Americans go to Jesus. And I don't even know what's in Valhalla. I've heard it's nice. I've heard it's tough. A lot of bunkers. No, that's the halls of Odin. Okay. So someone, obviously, we've got a strong Viking presence here today. So in terms of AI, there are ways that you can use it, and I use it quite a bit here. All of my theme music is all done with AI, and it sucks. You can tell that it does. But I don't get sued and I don't get kicked off YouTube. So that brings me to the point of the topics that I looked up, because they do like a ChatGPT does like a Spotify Wrapped, if you will, with all of your searches that you did on YouTube on ChatGPT for the year. So I got curious. Now I have a lot of, most recently, there's a lot of requests for thumbnails and for YouTube descriptions on this and that. And I use it just to shortcut having to write things out and think, because I'll spit it out and I'll edit it. But then as I was scrolling through my, I guess you could say, my chat GPT Wrapped, if you will, here are some of the things that I searched for in the past year. And they're quite interesting. And we'll see if you have any questions about this. You can see that how widely varied they are on a variety of different subjects. And I could probably fill you in on some things, and you can find some common threads that might run through here. And I'm going to go all the way back, way to the beginning of the year. And I've got 28 of them I want to run through here. And starting out way back in the first part of the year, back when I still had a radio show, I searched for ideas for female stripper names. I don't really recall why, but I'm pretty sure it had something to do with the radio show and bringing back the stripper poll of the day. But good ideas for stripper names is there in my ChatGPT search. I have the TP5 versus TPX5 spin rate. Now, for you people that golf, the TP5 and the TPX5, those are tailor-made golf balls that I play. And so I was looking at which one spun more for use around the green. I want something with a little less spin than more spin. Number 26. This is a good one. Now I want to see if, everything is out there and everyone knows what you did. Some of these searches, I don't know if this one is going to get me in trouble or not. But number 26 was summarize the Unabomber manifesto. Now, this is really something kind of interesting with this whole Unabomber thing. And I may do a show on the Unabomber. And the reason being is Ted Kaczynski wrote this manifesto between 1975 and 1983, right? And this guy was just freaky smart. And he was also in those prisons, or he was also in those studies at Stanford University. And that's where they think, some people think that they messed with his head. But anywho, the Unabomber, I was watching Manhunter, and so the Unabomber thing was really intriguing. And I said, well, I've never read the manifesto. So, of course, I go out and I Google the manifesto. And I start reading it. And I had ChatGPT summarize it. But as I was reading it, and like I said, it was in 1975 when it first started being written. It was Technology and Industrial Society, or something like that is the name of his dissertation. And as I started reading it, started talking about technology and how people react and how different classes and liberals versus conservatives and blacks versus whites. And it jumped into all of these things and again, like I said, 75 to 82 was written. So that's over 40, close to 50 years ago. And it got into how everyone thought that technology is going to pull society together closer. And his whole dissertation is about how technology is driving everybody apart, and it's driving a wedge through people. He goes even so deep into talking about race relations and how nails it. And I think we're seeing some of this in fact, I know you're seeing it right now because it's all over social media. How suburban white women are screaming inequality, and they're not even a part of the class that is being treated poorly, but they're the ones who scream the loudest. And so you read that and you're going, holy cats. And the more I read, I'm like, this guy freaking nailed it. He absolutely nailed everything that's happening. It was almost like a Nostradamus type thing. Now, I go on a little bit further and I say, I do not condone in a million years the way he decided to address the issue. You're certainly not going to start blowing people up. But nonetheless, it was pretty compelling. James, am I teaching second semester of 26? Yeah, I am, to the best of my knowledge. I'm teaching a class in creative thinking, which is basically a class that undermines everything that academics do to a student's mind. But back to the Unabomber thing. In fact, I gave that out as an assignment to the students, and I redacted a lot of it. And I only did about 5 or 6 pages, and I redacted a lot of it, and I gave it to them, and I said, okay, we're going to discuss this. And almost to the one, almost to every single student said, wow, this is really insightful. All this stuff is going on. And I said, does anyone know who it is? And they didn't, except for the 2 people that reverse Googled it or did a Google search on it, which kind of pissed me off. But they said, no, we have no idea. And so then up on the screen, I put his sketch up, the sketch that they used. I go, that's the Unabomber. My point was that if you hate the messenger, no matter how much you hate the messenger, you have to somehow distinguish between who is giving the message and what the information is, and make your own decision on the information, and not just be so closed-minded that because it's coming from someone who you don't care for, or someone who is not up to your moral code. Obviously, Ted is not. That doesn't make the information that is being shared invalid. So that's where I get to get to the Unabomber. Number 25 is fun facts about phenobarbital. Again, not sure why I searched that. I think it was probably for the radio show where I was going to do, hey, what's that guy? What's that guy on? And that's probably it. Number 4, nicknames for pedophiles in prison. Because, I mean, the only one I knew was Chomo. And I wanted to see if there were any more out there. I don't know what I was watching. I might have been watching 60 Days In. I go through these phases when I watch documentaries on themes. And I was on a Mount Everest phase for the longest time. And then I get into storm watching documentaries. And, and one day, one of my top 5s is going to be one of my top 5 favorite natural disasters. I get into the storm thing every once in a while. There's a couple that I always watch that I cannot tear myself away from. One of which being anything on the Kennedy assassination and anything on 9/11. Whenever those come up, I'm just fascinated by that part of history to watch and see what's going on, or what the different points of view are on that. But I was on a prison kick for a while, and I was watching 60 Days In and Lock Up and a few of those. And now I'm kind of back in the prison thing. There's a few new ones out there. And so I probably during that phase was looking up nicknames for pedophiles in prison. 23 is really self-explanatory. Indica versus sativa explained. Probably was I was probably trying to make a decision on a shopping list. Here's another one that I have no clue about. Famous people from Thunder Bay, Ontario. Why I would have to go out and look for famous people from Thunder Bay, Ontario is beyond me. But that one was on there. Number 21, what dates will Mercury be in retrograde? I must have been having, at that point when I looked it up, I must have been having something that was going sideways, or really having a shitty week or something to that effect. So looking up Mercury being in retrograde, which I totally believe in. I think when Mercury goes in retrograde, a lot of stuff goes to hell. So I do kind of, and I'm not a big zodiac guy, but I do keep an eye out for that stuff. Followed by oysters Rockefeller recipes. Not exactly sure, but I've never made oysters Rockefeller. I've had it, but I've never made it, and I had no desire to make it. So I don't know why I would have been looking up a recipe. Number 19, what was the relationship? Okay, so we go from, if you look at this, indica, sativa, nicknames for pedophiles in prison, famous people from Thunder Bay, Ontario, what dates will Mercury be in retrograde, to oysters Rockefeller, and then what was the relationship between Jesus and Nicodemus? There you go. Oh, good. This is good. Between Nick and Jim, and we're getting into 9/11 conspiracy theories. And I'm into conspiracy theories. I think they're wild. I like to see how people react to things and how their minds work. I know a lot of people think that. I know a lot of people think that 9/11 was an inside job, and I just pray to God that it wasn't. I just pray to God that it wasn't. That would make me sick to my stomach. James, have you ever been to Daily Plaza? Yes, I have. Been to Daily Plaza. I've stood on the fence behind the grassy knoll, and when I stood up there and looked at where the shots were, where Kennedy was hit on that road, people don't realize what a downward slope that is. And then you look back at the book depository and you're going, okay, so this guy with a single bolt 22 hit him 3 times as it's going down a hill. There's no way in God's green earth. There's no way on God's green earth that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. And as soon as I looked at, and you can see where they have that triangulation theory coming from the train tracks and everything. As soon as I saw that, I said to the guy that I was with, I go, I will never believe anything our government tells us ever again, ever. So we go to Jesus and Nicodemus. And that was because I started watching The Chosen. And in the early seasons of The Chosen, Nicodemus had a pretty good role. Hey, Kenneth, you want to chill out? Okay, you don't eat until 4. Okay, I know Mom is not home. You don't eat until 4, and I'm in the middle of doing something. Okay, you're just gonna. I know you're hungry, but you're just gonna have to relax. Okay, so you just got to settle down for a minute. So we get to so the Jesus and Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman who was deranged. There was no motive determined. Okay, like I said, I'm not going to get in. He was not a lone gunman. There's no way in God's green earth. No freaking way. And I will not be convinced otherwise. And I will not debate it here. But I was watching The Chosen, and Nicodemus played a pretty big role early on in the series. And I liked The Chosen. I like it as a series because Everything that we ever see, when they talk about Jesus and the apostles, or every picture, they all get like the big, oh, thanks, Nick, sarcasm, sure. Okay, I got you now. It doesn't show up in writing. They always show like an apostle or something, or Jesus with the big glowing, circular halo around him. And the cool thing, what I liked about watching The Chosen was all the apostles were like, they all had their own quirks and they were all regular people. I've never seen them portrayed as regular people before, and that's what I found to be compelling. I know I've looked online and there's these theologians and everything that are just totally going off and saying this is not accurate and blah, blah. It's like, no, it's not. Maybe it's not necessarily accurate. It's a TV show, right? It's not a history class, but if it can make somebody relate to it more closely or understand it better, I don't see anything that's wrong with that. Then number 18, obviously, now we're getting close to my most recent ones. Number 18 obviously had to happen in the summer, because I think we all remember the biggest giveaway that the Brewers have ever had. And number 18 is Drew and KB cribbage board designs. It would be another thing that Drew and I would not follow through on, would be our cribbage board, doing the cribbage board. But there are designs out there. And I think if you look at the icon that I'm using on Twitter, that might be the centerpiece of one of the cribbage boards. Number 17, I think we know now from here on out, I think you will be able to see exactly what I searched for most recently after I started becoming unemployed. So number 17 is, how do I qualify for Badger Care? Now, my son, when he was in school, in graduate school, was not making any money. He couldn't work. Graduate school was so intense, and he was on Badger Care. And it's like, Jesus, that is like the greatest thing ever. Talk about a Cadillac plan. And I was kind of hoping that I could sneak onto that, but no, I cannot do that. Number 16, we can see where we are in number 16, which is the Euphoria plot summary. I must have been looking at something. Hold on a second. Thank you for staying with me. That has to be something that was Sydney Sweeney adjacent. I would have had to go look for that. Then here we go. Number 15, Nick Reiner Hotel. I wanted to see where that hotel was located that Nick Reiner went to after he killed his parents. I thought it looked like a pretty nice hotel. And I mean, he checked in. They got him there at 4 a.m. It checked in at 4 a.m. And it's like, well, and they said the room was like, there was a lot of blood on the sheets and everything. And the only thing that crossed my mind is like, well, didn't they notice when the guy was checking in, he was covered with blood? Didn't that tip him off? Apparently not. Number 14, how to EQ vocals. Okay. Number 13, average temperature by month in Santa Fe. Probably a fleeting thought about retiring or moving to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I like the southwest part of the United States. I love Phoenix. Drew and I talk about this. Phoenix is like our home away from home. It's like I go wheels down in Phoenix and I know exactly where to go. I know all the restaurants. I know where the In-N-Out burgers are. I know where the cool bars are to go to and hang out, and with the sports bars. I can give people directions in that city. But it's insanely expensive. And Santa Fe looks like it'd be a little bit more affordable. Number 12 is states without income tax. Again, probably staring retirement right in the face. And after losing my gig, I'm sure that was part of me going into all right, well, let's see what the next move has got to be. Number 11 is font substitutes for Capitana. Nix's favorite sports bar in Phoenix. There's a place called Goldie's, and it's on Via Linda, and it's a little bit west of 92nd, and it's they got incredible burgers, and it was I would go and watch Packers games there, and then there's also the 92nd Street Cafe, which is a good Packers bar, but Goldie's I like as a food. Hamburgers were huge, French fries were amazing. And you can't drink and drive ever. I've never had a sip of alcohol and got behind a wheel in Arizona, not even a taste, because man, oh man, you don't know how quickly you get to .08. And if you get pulled over, they do not mess around. I mean, it is straight to Tent City in a pink jumpsuit and a moldy bologna sandwich. So I did a lot of walking out there. And would walk down where I was staying. I could walk to this place, Goldie's. And it was pretty cool to go watch Packers games because there's so many transplants down there. And they had all the TVs. Between the first and the second game, if you were there, the whole bar would change over with you would have new people coming in new jerseys and the West Coast jerseys, and here comes some Raiders fans, or here comes some Rams or Chargers fans, or even if the later game was, or if a early game was New York and the Jets, here come Jets jersey, here come Bears jersey. So it was a pretty cool melting pot. So I really did enjoy that, but I was probably looking at Santa Fe because I like the Southwest. Number 10 is where can I stream Mad Men? It is. I think you can stream it on AMC, but I don't like it when they run marathons because I've watched about half of the whole thing, probably through about 3.5 seasons or so. And then you never know where you're going to jump in if you flip it on TV. So I was looking for where I could stream it and continue it. Number 9 is discontinued sugary cereals. I'm sure that was probably for a top 5. Here we're getting some interesting ones. Playboy centerfolds between 1969 and 1979. I guess you could say the Bush years, during the Bush administration. I know that I was probably looking for Barbie Benton, who was the goat of the 70s Bush. Now here we go. I'll let you draw your own conclusions on these. Number 7, who owns the trademark for the game? Followed by number 6, will doing a YouTube show violate my non-compete? Well, apparently not, because I'm here. But I'm not doing a show. I can do a show, but it can't be like the show I was doing. And obviously, this is nothing like the show that I was doing before. I'm just basically talking at a camera on top of my computer. Number 5, Botox for smile enhancement. Now, I did this because I have resting bitch face, and I hate it. If I just sit there and look, you can see it turns down, and everyone thinks I'm angry all the time, and I'm not angry all the time. So that's probably, I know, Botox for smile enhancement. I remember looking it up, and they said what they do is it kind of freezes the muscles that would pull these things down, so put them back up, so they would go back up again. Number 4, 28-day Tai Chi program. Now, if you follow on social media, it's like they know everything about you. They know everything you do. I mean, your phone is listening to you. So everything that I get in my feeds on Instagram is my dad's over 50. What should you be doing? You shouldn't be lifting weights. You should be doing Tai Chi. And then you go and say, okay, this looks interesting, right? And then they want to charge you $89 or what have you. Well, ChatGPT. So I go and I said, give me a 28-day Tai Chi program with instructions how to perform the exercises and visual representations. And it gave me a whole Tai Chi thing. Now, I haven't done it, but it's got photos and instructions and everything on how to do the workout. So if you ever want to do that, ChatGPT, everything is out there, and it'll pull that stuff together. Number 3, steps to investigate bank fraud and how to relinquish power of attorney. I'm not going to get into those. There's a little personal, not directly related to me. But, and then we get down to number 1. What is the air route from Anchorage to Croatia? And that one was my last search. And I did that last night because Miss Sue and I were watching Below Deck Mediterranean. And the people that were coming on the boat that had chartered the boat were from Anchorage, Alaska. And Mediterranean, it's always in Croatia. They're always, somewhere around there. And I was thinking, I wonder which way you fly. Do you go the opposite way? Do you go over the top? I know, because like if you go from New York to Japan, you go over the top. Okay, it's not like you go around. And I was looking to see that, what it would be. And the route, if you're going from Anchorage, it does go across Canada and Greenland and down. In case anyone was interested. So those are, go out and do some chat GPTs yourself. It's pretty powerful, all those AI things. And I probably get 6 or 7 of them that I use. But most people our age use them for, use it just as a faster Google. But man, like I said, if you go look at my YouTube page, everything on the YouTube page is colorful and bright and all those thumbnails. And that's all done with ChatGPT, because I'd be here, a million hours doing it. So that is my relationship with AI. And that brings us to the next part of the show, which is another one that I enjoy doing quite a lot. And that is, what color is the sky on your planet? And where I give you a news story and I just go, what the hell is wrong with you people? So here we go. This one we go to, this one comes from the New York Post, and there is a new unsettling trend that is sweeping libraries across the United States. It's not about overdue books, but a growing number of librarians are reporting that creepy crawlers and patrons are sexually harassing them on the job. A librarian by the name of Abby Hargrave says, I don't always realize what's happening until later I hear from the staff that they had someone ask the same questions. The tip-offs are usually heavy breathing or encouraging comments typical in a consensual and informed sexual interaction. Now, 75% of librarians, it says, have been violated by patrons as well as their co-workers while on the clock. And those offenses can include being asked out, unwanted gifts, followed to their cars, asked for phone numbers, and those who are under the age of 40, and it stands to reason, we're more likely to be harassed. Now, what happens is, instead of the typical lewd behavior, these interactions start with, hey, can you help me find this book? Or what's the reference for that? But then the caller escalates to fetish behavior. Sometimes, here we go. Sometimes getting sexual gratification from hearing the librarian read out loud or interact. And they're quite, they're not brazen about it. They're not saying, what are you wearing? Or are you turned on right now? Instead, they become aroused by asking the librarians to recite excerpts from historical documents, such as the Declaration of Independence or random lawsuit filings. And then Amanda Hargrave says, I remember receiving a couple calls from an individual who asked me to read a Wikipedia page for a specific court case a couple of times. Later, when scrolling social media, I saw from other library staff they had received the exact same request. And it was all coming from one person. There is a guy who regularly calls libraries anonymously, asks for the staff member to read the Declaration of Independence, and then rubs one out. They said that these creeps target libraries because librarians are mostly women, but it is gross and traumatic. We do not get paid enough for dealing with it. Someone is calling around libraries asking for the Wikipedia entry for Brady versus Maryland to be read aloud, and they're using the call for self-gratification. So anyone who is calling a library and using it for sexual gratification, all I can say is, what is the color of the sky on your planet? My God, I can't even begin to imagine that. I cannot. Now, before we get to my top 5 of the day, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I have to go up and see my mom. But I have a show in the can that I am going to run. And if you liked yesterday's show, this is another interview show. And as this show progresses, it's going to be more and more one-on-one interviews. I just got to get them set up and scheduled. And I'm going to be, if you have any ideas of anyone who you'd like me to interview, let me know, like within reason. But what I like to do is I like to go behind the, not ask the obvious questions that you would ask somebody, but ask deeper questions or stuff that I might be curious about. Tomorrow, I have 3 singer-songwriters on who are, and I did this interview back during COVID, exceptionally talented and gifted singer-songwriters. Mary Carlson, who's here in Milwaukee, she's originally out of Florida. She's got 5 albums out. I've sung with her. I play guitar for her. I did a duo with her, and I was on her last album. Andrew Hyra, part of a duo, Billy Pilgrim, and the other part of the duo of Billy Pilgrim, which is a band that I loved in the 90s, late 90s and early 2000s. Amazing group out of Georgia. Billy Pilgrim, Andrew Hyra, and his partner in that duo was Christian Bush, who you may know, went on to be in Sugarland. So it's Christian and Andrew and Mary Carlson, and I ask a bunch of questions, and that will be on the show tomorrow. So, but you can go back on YouTube and get it anytime you want, right? So if you're interested in the world of singer-songwriters and musicians, I'm going to have some more musicians on coming up. Daryl Sturmer will be coming up on the show in the next couple of weeks. He's the guitar player for Phil Collins and Genesis. Who lives here in Milwaukee, is a friend of mine. He said he would do it. So, we're going to start branching out and doing more and more interviews. That makes it a little bit more interesting than me just sitting here staring at the screen and talking about stuff that nobody really gives a rat's ass about. So then that will bring us now to the final part of the show before I conclude and get in the car and drive up north of the wall, because that's where I'm going to be tomorrow. And that is my favorite top 5 all-time worldwide. Yes, my all-time top 5 worldwide. And today, I told you that I was, getting into watching. I'm back in the prison cycle of watching documentaries and movies. So today's top 5 all-time worldwide is my top 5 all-time worldwide women's prison movies. And so there are some great ones out there. Most of them are a little bit older, but it's prison movies or documentaries, right? And so we're going to start off with number 5. And number 5 is called Wentworth Prison. Wentworth Prison it's an Australian show. and it's an Australian TV show about chicks in prison, right? Wentworth Prison is on Roku. I stumbled on it on the Roku channel. I was flipping around. I was on the Roku channel, and all of a sudden I saw a women's prison movie. Boom! I'm all in. That is it's interesting, and you've got chicks with Australian accents, which I'm not so sure if it's attractive or not. All I know is they say no as no, and that's annoying as all get out. Coming in at number 4 is Broke Down Palace, and Kate Beckinsale is that, and she's in that, and it's she gets caught up in a woman's prison in Thailand. So it's their whole, what they're doing in this Thai prison. So it's not only women's prison, it's women's prison in another country, and it's a nasty women's prison. So that is a pretty darn good movie. Coming in at number 3 is an old one from 1994, Girls in Prison. And Anne Heche was in this, and pretty good shower scene. Pretty good shower scene in that one. Coming in at number 2 is Orange is the New Black, which was on Netflix. Ran for about 5 or 6 seasons, and that had a lot of people. They had the one woman from the one, she was in that 70s show, and he also had Natasha, what the hell's her name? Leone, who went on to do Poker Face. She was also in the American Pie movies. So Orange is the New Black comes in at number 2. And the number 1, the GOAT of all women's prison movies, is Chained Heat. Chained Heat from the 1970s with Linda Blair. After she came out of The Exorcist, she went and did women's prison films. And Chained Heat, by far and away, the best of all the women's prison films. So if you have a favorite, you can always go to YouTube and drop a comment underneath my top 5 and let me know what your favorite women's prison movie is. So again, I'm not going to be around tomorrow. Christian Bush from Sugarland, Andrew Hyra, and Mary Carlson tomorrow, another top 5. And on Thursday, when I return, it'll be Trevor Thomas from Inside Sports Wisconsin. He'll be joining me as my guest. And until then, make good choices.